shell casings, you know, shell casings were found at the scene. The Winchester Western 12-gauge buckshot. Banks's gun was, he had a gun, a 12-gauge shotgun, and reported it to Everhart. And I went to his house and seized the gun.
Do you know what happened?
No, I did not. The night it happened, he was brought to the detective office
At midnight.
And well, he was brought there after we left the scene.
Yeah, for a statement.
And brought there for a statement, and his gun was fired, and the shells were sent to the crime lab where they sat. So sometime in December, and I got a call from Kelly Pike that says, you need to go get me this shotgun because these shells appear to match. I think that's when I executed the search warrant.
Yeah, went back for the gun again.
I don't think the gun was there. I think it had to go to his mama's house.
It was at his brother's house, but...
That was his mother's house.
Yeah.
His brother lived there.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's when we focused on Gary Banks. I mean, he was not even in my picture until then.
But when everything unfolded, did you feel like that he was innocent after he was released from prison? I mean...
No, I became more convinced that he was at least involved. The more the whole trial, the whole time, I had questions. I mean, there was no real reason for it. There was no apparent motive for him to kill anybody.
Do you know why he was released from prison?
Yeah, the case was nonplussed. The case was nonplussed.
The case.
After the case, the second trial was reversed. And I don't remember what legal proceedings might have taken place subsequently, but I was investigated with the DA's office, and myself and Hal Craig were charged with the duty of getting the case ready to retry a third time. And there was some new evidence developed by the defense relative to who was a captain at the time, Shug Howard, who had some contact with both the found shells at the scene and the shells that were fired in Gary Banks' gun originally. There was some question about him earlier when he was with Laurel Police Department having mishandled some firearm evidence that was going to be brought in. We were not able to, this whole case depended on finding those shells and matching them to his gun. That was the case. We were not able to have it at that late date, frankly. Nobody could testify to the chain of custody of the red shells, the one found at the scene, from their being found till they went to the crime lab, except Shug Howard.
What's his name?
Shug S. Howard. His nickname was Shug.
Shug?
S-H-U-G.
S-H-U-G.
And because his credibility had been, we had evidence that it was severely damaged, that we didn't feel like we could go forward, so the case was a non-problem.
But it wasn't enough to realize that Jerry quite possibly could have been innocent. You just
in my opinion, I frankly talked to some of the officers at the scene, and they said, I can tell you, in my opinion, I saw him at this time. I was familiar with the shells at this time, but we couldn't put it together from a testimonial standpoint. It's been too long. I can't swear to it.
Well, you remember Bud Kelly?
Of course I do.
Well, it was his testimony. It was probably in a deposition. In fact, I think he did come forward to the DA's office at that time. That he remembered Philip Howard test firing the 3 shells fired behind the courthouse.
Oh, I witnessed.
You witnessed the...
Test firing the shells that night or the next day. I'm not sure exactly.
You witnessed the test firing of the shells? Was it on a Sunday?
The reason I remembered is because I was telling him, don't do this. Send the gun to the crime.
Well, the thing about Bud Kelly's statement is that Well, Philip Howard had been testifying in 2 trials that he testified it on Sunday afternoon, that he went to Jerry's house on Sunday afternoon. Jerry Banks says they got his gun at 5 o'clock in the morning when they took him home after keeping him all night, the night of the murders, which would have been the morning of 5 o'clock in the morning to 8. But Bud Kelly says, yeah, I heard the shots, but
I would imagine that his gun was left there after he was taken home.
They said they did not get his gun when they picked him up in court. I think Barnes picked him up, and he said, did you pick his gun up at that time? He says, no.
I can't think.
So what?
I remember Banks being there that night because I talked to him
for his statement.
Whether I took his statement or whether I just talked to him, and I think the gun was there. Now, when Suge Howard fired that gun, I don't remember.
Bud Kelly said it was on a Friday.
Well, I wouldn't speak.
That would be before the evidence shells were found. Hours.
I doubt that, but I wouldn't. I don't know. I doubt that.
So you doubt that?
Why would a 12-gauge shotgun have been important until some 12-gauge shells? Seems to me like those shells at the scene were found the next morning.
At 9 o'clock.
After daylight.
At 8 o'clock in the morning.
And
by 9 o'clock the next morning.
And that would have, logically, and I don't remember. I wasn't even back at the scene the next morning. As a matter of fact, that I recall, I wasn't there when those shells were found. I didn't actually get the case until later.
Yeah, so he was testifying.
So I don't know why a 12-gauge shotgun would have made any difference.
At that time, they hadn't.
Until the shells were found. I mean, we knew they were killed with a shotgun, but not what caliber. I mean, it could have been a 20-gauge, could have been a 16-gauge. But, so I can't imagine why anybody was sent to get Jerry Banks.
If you had evidence that somebody was involved, would the case be reopened?
I would turn it over to the police, any evidence that I had, yeah. If Jerry Banks was involved, I don't think he was by himself. I've always thought that. Who else it might be, I don't choose to say because I don't have any solid evidence.
Well, his cousin was with him when they found the bodies.
His cousin or his brother?
His cousin. And he didn't want to get involved. And I think he's the one that took the wallet.
Well, you sound like you were there. I don't recall his cousin.
Well, his cousin is Mamian Webster Jr. And he told Jerry, we got to get out of here. And Perry said, I can't leave.
Where did you get that?
Huh?
Where did you get that?
A conversation that transpired between Marion Webster Jr. and Jerry Banks was relayed to Perry Banks. And Perry Banks said that they have never spoke to Mamian Webster Jr.
This is not in some sworn testimony.
Do what?
This is not in some sworn testimony. This is what somebody said.
No, he came forward.
Who did?
Mamian Webster came forward with a statement.
That name rings a bell, but I don't remember how.
Well, it was hidden. The file was hidden.
What file was it?
The one that had all the witness statements in it.
By who? From who?
Well, it was in a file that Bill Hart took with him when he left the county.
I don't know. No.
I mean, that's how they got a third trial. There was 7, 8, 9 witnesses.
I thought there was a 2 trial.
They were going for a third trial. The Supreme Court of Georgia awarded Jerry Banks a third trial.
No, the Supreme Court of Georgia reversed his second trial, and it was up to the district attorney whether to try him.
And he said, we're going to go forth with a third trial.
The case was not. The case was not dismissed.
Well, he released a statement on January. It would have been Byron Smith. Byron Smith on December the.
He non-prosecuted the case. I signed the non-prosecution.
Yeah, I think he was he planned on going through with it.
No, he didn't. No, I can tell you about that now.
Well, there's a statement in. I'm going by what was in the paper. Okay.
I don't know what he said.
Right.
It was a little more complicated than what he put in the paper. We couldn't put the case together is what it amounted to. After all those years, because of what I just told you about Sugar.
Well, let me ask you.
That was a preliminary reason, or primary reason. Whether that's what Byron stated at the time or not, I don't know, and I don't care. I know what the reason. Because I was involved in trying to put the case back together to retry it a third time. And I had said all along, and everybody else knew anything about the case, if anything could be, if in any way the integrity of the shells that were found at the scene could be damaged, that the case collapsed. And that happened. And the case collapsed, it was not retried.
That was over Bud Kelly's statement.
No, it had nothing to do with Bud Kelly's statement. It had, well, it may have partially had something to do with his expected testimony, because it had to do with the question of whether Suge Howard tampered with the shell. That was the question that we could not. There was credible evidence that that could have happened, and we could not, through other credible witnesses, conclusively show the chain of custody of the red Winchester Western shell.
If you ruled out Bud Kelly's statement, yeah.
No, I'm not ruling out anything. I'm saying that I didn't even remember Bud Kelly's statement. Now that you mention it, I vaguely remember he made some statement. But the fact that I knew Suge Howard fired the gun, I think I saw him fired, I'm not sure.
You didn't testify to that.
Well, then,
The only two people...
if I would ask a question and I said no, then that's the truth, because that was way back then.
Yeah.
And I have that memory of it.
The two people that witnessed and testified in court was Barnes and Robbins, and they said it was on a Sunday afternoon. On a Sunday...
That's more significant to you than it was to not trying the case a third time.
Well,
The reason it was not tried a third time is Suge Howard's credibility had been absolutely destroyed. And we weren't sure we believed him, we the prosecutor.
But doesn't it stand to reason that he was possibly lying about firing the test firing on Sunday?
Do you understand what the word credibility means?
Yeah.
I said his credibility about the shells had been destroyed.
Uh-huh.
For a variety of reasons.
Okay.
I just mentioned,
Okay.
and I'm not going to say twice.
All right.
And Bud Kelly's statement may have played into that thinking. I'm not saying it didn't. I don't remember. But I know that we couldn't firmly establish through testimony the chain of custody from the finding of the shells at the scene to them going to the crime lab, excluding the possibility that Suge Howard had substituted. Now, I can't say he did. I don't really think he did, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But we could not come in and conclusively, without Suge Howard's testimony,
Okay, I see.
show the chain of custody.
So
Without his testimony, or his testimony put in serious
is
question.
he still alive?
Without his testimony, we couldn't conclusively establish a chain of custody, and no, he's not still alive. As far as I know, I haven't kept up with Suge Howard, but I seem to recollect that he died some time ago. Really not sure.
So all the witness statements saying they heard 4 rapid firing, and none of that's taken in consideration that Jerry's gun was so old that it would be very unlikely that he could have performed the murders?
I did an experiment. I think I testified to it for reenactment. I don't remember how quick I could do it, but it seemed like Jerry had on some kind of coat that had certain kind of pockets, and I put on one and took, I think, that gun, and was able to fire it 4 times. That is, fire it, eject the shell, put in another shell, close the breech, fire it, and I did that 4 times in a rapid, quick enough where I could have killed 2 people with it. Because actually you just need 2 shots
The first
to
two.
get them down, and then the next 2 you do at your leisure.
He would have to be pretty proficient with that old gun, though.
Well, his gun had it all his life. I expect he...
That's the first time he'd ever borrowed it to go hunting. It belonged to Perry.
I know who it belonged to.
But that's the first time he had ever borrowed it.
Says who?
Perry told me that.
I wouldn't necessarily believe him on Perry.
Well, I guess that'll do it then. So, I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.